just to let you know, we'll be recording this session for training purposes. Um, so, tell me a little bit about what you want to achieve trading-wise, or what would you like to learn about Ion Desk?
Trading-wise, I just want to try and evaluate this software first of all, and see if I can do automated trading when I'm at work.
Okay.
So, not taking a huge risk or anything, just
Okay.
um,
Just setting up and then having it fire off one trade if it sees an opportunity type thing.
exactly, and see how that goes. And if that goes well, and then the risk goes higher.
Okay.
But as far as what I would like to learn is, I'm not clear on the backtesting, how that is done. And also I'm trying to find out if there's a bunch of predefined strategies that are already there. And certain specific questions, how to get up and running very quickly. Like, for example, if you create, say, bracketed order entry to the bracketed order and put top trail, etc., and then copy and paste that onto the robot. That is very, very quick. But then the question is, if we had like on the robot, right click and duplicate. So duplicate would duplicate the. I mean, is there any functionality like that I'm not seeing? So that duplication of the robot, in other words, how can we do that?
Yeah, you basically just see. There's something. I don't know. This always happens when I do a join me meeting. It's let me see. For some reason the right click on the for some reason every time I do a join me that occurs right here on the right click of the robot.
Oh, okay.
So I mean, but basically there are how can I say, there are copy paste, like, and so you're just copying and pasting just like you would in any other program. So it's no problem there. As for, like, let's just go around the horn, look at a few features, and then I show you how other customers do exactly what you're talking about, because they're in similar situations where they may be working or they just want to take advantage of something. I personally always tell people that it is a very dangerous thing to put on a trade and then not be there to to watch it, not necessarily manage it. That's what the application's for. But anything can happen. Internet connection be lost. Connection to the broker be lost. And so I just kind of have, I just kind of put that out there as somewhat of a warning. But you can do it. And also, like, there are other things you can do that are permission based within Ion Desk, and I'll show you how that works. Like you can apply permissions to on a let me see here, on a robot basis, that you can control how that robot and when that robot can actually place that trade. But let's look at the bracketed orders first. This is a common form that we have. As you can see, it very much matches the robot form over here. And like, just to walk through, do you have any experience with other active trader platforms from any other broker?
You mean a third-party tool or?
Yeah, any third party or just in general.
Yeah, I've been playing around with Button Trader.
Okay. So you're familiar with how Windows works and how the links, how like if you got a watch list and you click on the link and then it'll do that type of stuff. Like most platforms do that. They don't necessarily have to. Basically, what I'm doing now is I'm adding legs to the trade, and so with a single leg, you're able to do several things. You can of course drag the leg up and down. You can of course, add other legs for target as well as the stop. You can of course enter your shares there, and then what type of order you want to place. Those are the basics for using the bracketed orders. And so, of course, when you expand the menu by clicking on the white arrow on the leg, you're able to see some of the trigger options that you have. Like, for instance, of course, everybody's familiar with the market type order. You've got your limit types that that you're used to, as well as the specialty ones that we have created, like limit at ask, limit at last, limit at bid, and you got your stops here. You got your conditionals here. And also, one of the things that you're able to do is right-click on the leg and actually attach a strategy to it. And what that means is that you're able to attach basically a decision tree that can drive your order leg. So, for instance, I just closed that one. I wanted to apply one to the entry. So here we have a blank strategy that we can easily add strategies to. So, for instance, I'm clicking add, and I've got a strategy. And so, let's just start off with you. So let's say that you're at work. Well, one of the things that you would probably want to do is constrain when this order can be placed. And so you would want to do something like, for instance, that the time of day is between, let's just say you want to be in line with the market, so you would have maybe 9 and then 30 here, 9:30 a.m. Okay, and then we want to stop trading. Let's make this PM and go here. Stop trading at 1 p.m. for whatever reason. And so now you have constricted, the entry for this order as well as any sublegs, because the sublegs cannot be placed, meaning the target and the stop cannot be placed if the entry hasn't been placed. And so when you're placing a bracketed order inside of IonDesk, you want to imagine it as if it is a basket which contains inner orders, okay? And so right now we have a basket of 3 orders that include an entry, a target, and a stop loss, all right? And our entry now has one strategy. Now we can take this further and say, well, when we see a specific pattern in the market, so if we end up seeing this particular pattern, 2 crows, or we could say 3 crows. Let's see, where are the 3 line strike. That's good enough. That we can basically, let's look at the bullish one. We can look at this as a possible continuation of that strategy. And then we would come in and set our interval that we want to observe. Some people trade, 1 minute, 3 minutes, 5, whatever. And so for me personally, I trade 5, and then I would come here and say I would want the lifespan of that. I want the lifespan of this pattern, its signal, to last for 5 minutes. That's what this means. So let's stop there for a second and understand what that means. So when IonDesk sees this pattern, okay, this 3 bullish bars and 1 long, not necessarily engulfing, but a long red bar, it will fire a signal. And so this signal has a time length. So this gives you tremendous amount of control. So if you can imagine, if you were trading in 5-minute increments, then you may want that signal to last for the entire increment, right? Or you may want it to start at if you wanted it to start like 2 minutes and a half in, but you wanted it to stop on the interval, so it may look something like this. So even though it saw the signal at 0 minutes of the beginning of a bar, you could control it by saying, well, I only want it when it looks something like that. So that's a little bit more advanced, but you get the idea, is that you're setting up a strategy that says, I want you to only trade between 9:30 and 1 p.m., and now when you see this signal, I want you to buy. Okay?
Right.
All right. So let me take this back. And so what this means is that, because every interval, this signal could be true. And so what we're doing is we're saying, well, since we're trading 5 minutes, every 5 minutes, I want you to allow this signal to be true. I'm going to close this, and we're actually going to look and see if we can find one of those. Let's see. I'm going to change this to 1 day, so that'll be equivalent to yesterday, just looking at Facebook. All right, so here's Facebook. So let's see if we can locate that particular signal. Let's get rid of these guys. And so we use our chart to basically get a rough idea. I think that was a 3-line strike bullish, or was that a 3-line strike? I think it was 3-line strike. Okay, so there's none there. Let's look at something that I know that's there, like 3 crows. Okay. So every time it sees three down candles, you get a signal. And so this is equivalent to if we came here and we said, okay, whenever we see, let's see, 3 crows, whenever we see that, then we want this thing to fire. Okay? Now, you could also base that on you could actually be trading Facebook, but base your signal on, Twitter.
So it will fire, for example, you see, say, 3, in this case, say 3 red candles. That will it fire at any point of those 4 between 11 and 12, for example? There are 4 red candles there.
Yeah. Well, okay. So let's zoom in on this particular candle. Yeah. All right. So as the market is going along, it's 10:30 right there. It's 10:35, 10:40, 10:45. And so at 10:45, as soon as this candle turns red, that means that there's 3 red candles. That signal just fired.
I see.
Okay? Now, if you wanted to make sure that that signal was complete, what you would do is you would come in and you would say offset 1. Okay? So that means that I want to observe these 3 candles, but I want it to be offset by 1 candle. So let's look at that. I'm going to close this and then do the same thing inside of the chart so that we can see the behavior. All right, we're going to offset it by 1. Okay, so what that means is now we observe that there are truly 3 candles, but now the signal doesn't happen until this candle. Does that make sense? Okay, and so that same thing would occur in your order. So let's fast forward, or multitask with me. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say offset by 1 means add 1 to the last down candle.
Well, that basically means that from the current position, I want you to offset the scan or the lookup or the search for this pattern by 1. Because normally, as soon as we, for instance, as the market's going along, as soon as we saw 3 red candles, where we're actually on that candle, right? And so the reason a trader might say, I want you to be offset by 1 is because what if that candle turns green and it's not really red anymore? I mean, that may be good for you, but that's not the pattern that you were truly looking for. So some people may say, as soon as I see it, I want to act. Other people may say, no, I want to see it complete. I want to make sure that it's complete, and you can't know that until it's the next candle.
So after the third red candle, what if there was another red candle after that?
Yeah, then you're going on down. It's gonna, like if you look at this scenario, here's the perfect scenario of what you're talking about. So like let's set it back to 0. Okay, we're setting it back to 0. All right. So now you can see exactly what happened. It observed three down candles. We got a signal, and it observed another 3 down candles and got another signal. So this.
So for me to catch the green, I would have to say plus the offset by 2.
No, the way you would handle this scenario is like, for instance, imagine this. You would say, okay, I want you to make sure that that offset by 1. Here, let me show you. Let me show you exactly what you would want to see. Let's offset it by 1. But what we want to do is we want to make sure, and this isn't going to combine the way that I want it to. What we're going to do is we're going to say bullish or bearish bar. Okay, and basically what this is saying is that, is the bar green or is it red? And so we're just going to say generate greens, all right? And so what you would do is in your strategy, you would combine them. So now look at this. So here, I'm gonna put this on there. And so now what would happen is when we see this scenario of the 3 bars, and then we see our green bar, buy. And so you would actually combine them here in your order strategy to say, okay, I want to see this, but I also want to see that the bar is green. Okay, that the current bar is green. And so we know that 1 candle back that this pattern occurred, and we want a signal that the current bar is green. Make sense?
Okay.
Okay, so let's take this strategy into the back test and see what it does. All right? All right. Let's see. I'm gonna adjust it once I get over there. Let's see. Copy this guy, and we're gonna go over to the back test. And I've already got one loaded here. Let me paste this guy. And you did see what I did here. I just basically went to our file control right here on the form, and I just hit copy, and then I went over to the back test.
Just a quick question. So the strategy is basically the written representation of how you want to write the chart.
Oh yeah, definitely, all day. I mean, but that's not the only way. But that's the way you want to think about it. So just like your very wise question was, what would happen if I had another red bar? Well, you would want to basically define what you want to see. So I wanted to see those 3 red bars, but then I want to see a green bar. I was actually putting on trades yesterday based on that. Not really so much of the 3 bar, but I was doing basically a 2 bar down, and then I was looking for a reversal, and then I caught it. It was like, out of the 8 trades, I only got in trouble 1 time, and I just doubled down, and it went back green, and so I was all happy. So, I just wanted to show you that, but yeah, that's actually a type of trade that I personally put on. Okay, so let's
continue to add the and conditions to further, if you want to make your strategy tighter.
Oh yeah, all day. Yep. That's exactly what the tree is for. I'll show you some of the more advanced trees that some of my one of my customers has, and you'll see that it can get very elaborate, But if you notice, in order to keep your strategy optimized, we did the more simple thing was check to make sure that the time is there, because IonDesk won't even check for these two, which are a little bit more intensive because it's scanning chart data. So you want to always think, well, what is the most coarse part of my strategy? It's not that important, but that's the way you want to think,
But then if you want to add more, say you add 10 more conditions there, right?
Yep.
Will the execution slow down?
I mean, it will. It will diminish. I mean, like you can reach a point of diminish, return, but we're running parallel computing, so unless you have like a lot of, like, we've got clients that are actually running 500 trades at a time, and I'll show you how that works and what they're doing, but if you're running like what you're going to do one trade at a time, you won't even notice it.
Okay.
But we do take optimization very seriously, and you want to take it into consideration, because why not have it optimized? Why,
Has to, the end conditions, the number of conditions, it really has to be a balancing act. The more you put, the more tighter it gets, and then it could happen that the trade will never get executed. Right.
You're spot on. I mean, you don't want a strategy that's so tight, but I'll show you an advanced strategy where it's actually loose, but there were very special conditions that the client wanted. Okay? But in this case right here, we're looking for 3 candles going down, and we want it to be pushed back 1 candle, and we want the current candle to be green. Now, later on, we can do other things like specify minimum size. Like if you wanted that candle to be a minimum size of 4 cents, you would do something like that. So you could, this thing is built for you to look exactly for what you want to see, find it, and act on it. That's exactly what it's built for. Okay, so what we've done is what we're saying is that now we want to see this pattern, 1 candle back. Okay, or I should say offset one candle, and then we want to see a green candle, okay, here, because we're going to specify buys, and we want it to be greater than, or we're going to say the minimum size 3 cents. It really doesn't matter. I'm just doing this to kind of give you an idea. Okay, so we have our strategy that is kind of like the driver, and we're just going to enter in with a market order, and we're going to set a stop here. Like, let's set it about, let's do a conditional where the bidding price should be greater than 6 cents, and that's a great way for people to apply a sell. Okay, and we're going to space this guy out so we don't get stopped out too quick. But this is a great way for someone to sell into strength, because you're always selling to the nearest bidder, correct? And so something that I won't say that they're beginners, but a lot of the times people will place a stop. And so what this means is when the price hits there, I want you to sell. That's fine, but understand that the bidder may be back here. If the bidder is 5 cents away and you bought 1,000 shares, well, you just lost $50.
Right. And when the robot is running, can you actually adjust the bid and go down if you wanted to?
Well, I'll show you how that works. But basically the robot. Imagine a robot as a mailman. Okay, it just delivers the mail. So don't confuse, or don't have a concept that the robot is this thing that thinks. It's your order that has the brain in it. The robot just carries the order. And like for you, like for instance, like you might have a parameter in the robot that says only trade once a day, where someone else might say, well, I want you to continually keep looking for that pattern and continually trade. You see what I'm saying? So the robot, you should think of the robot. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I guess the question is, can the robot be configured on the fly as it is running, or does it have to be stopped? And
no. It can be configured on the fly, but I thought you were alluding to changing an order that you have already executed.
Okay, so that, yeah, exactly. So that is one question, and the other question is, in other words, as the robot is running, can I replace one strategy with another strategy?
Yes. Okay, but I think I don't want to get ahead of us. We'll go back out and look at that. Okay. And so let's look at this back test, and let's see what it's going to do for us. All right, so I'm going to set this guy up. Let's see, the 20th. As a matter of fact, let's trade Friday, because we know that pattern is going to show up. We're going to trade on 15-second increments, and I'll leave everything else as is. It's not really, like the most important things is like what you title your, like we can change the title there, call it whatever we want to call it, and setting your dates, and then the interval. It only really is important if you're doing, scalping. So like if you really needed to get very, very accurate to see how accurate your trading is, then you want to set it to 1 second intervals. If you just want kind of like a kind of rough, you can set it as high as 60 seconds, but I wouldn't go above 60 seconds depending on the interval that you're trading, because then it's just not going to behave right. So you really never want to set it higher than 60. Probably in the future, we're probably going to get rid of these other intervals anyway. So because we wouldn't want to be attempting to trade an interval greater than the interval that you're trading. So, all right. Let's give this guy a run. Mm-hmm. All right.
And this is running against the data that's on your server?
Well, it's just running up against, historical data that we pulled down from a third party. Okay, so there's that trade. It found it. Okay, and let's go look at it. And now that thing found that exact trade that we were looking for. Look at that.
Oh, wow.
And so, remember those 4 bars? It came down. And of course, this was not scripted. I just did this on the fly. I had no idea where it was going to, I knew it was going to hit 1, but because we had that other constraint, it didn't find maybe this one. Remember, we stopped trading at 1 or something. And so there were no other 3-bar scenarios before 1 o'clock. And so luckily that happened, because we would have got caught right there and sold at a loss down here probably.
Okay. So
we got a 12 cents gain, and that's what IonDesk would do for that day for you. And I don't want to give you a false sense of, this is the greatest thing, but you see the power in what you're able to do very easily. You set up your trade, and just like for instance, if we set this really tight, we would have lost money. So, see? And so you need to know your stock, or you need to, there's a lot of things that you need to understand about what you're doing. And so it even bought several times in there. So, that was not a good trade for us. Okay. And so everything depends on how this thing is set up. So, like for instance, we've got some very. Okay, first, before I go any further, do you understand what we did and how it worked?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we've got
Although I may have to offline look at my chart. My chart is not showing anything right now.
Okay.
For some reason. So maybe if you have some time offline.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, like this is the back test, and basically it has 4 areas. Let me run this again so that we can look good on paper. Okay, we made our $123. Great. All right. So we go over to our report, and we're also able to get statistics on that trade. Now, of course, because we didn't run a month or whatever, it tells us the market value, how many, percentage of trades, the win-loss and things. And of course, as a matter of fact, like let's run this thing for at least 5 days, okay? And I'm going to speed it up a little bit and just put it on the 60-second interval. And let's reset it and run it. And let's see what we see. It has to go and acquire that data. Oh, Monday was a holiday. Okay. So it's going to skip that. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's a very nice trade there. Okay. So we've got our 4 days. Okay. It didn't find a trade on Thursday. It didn't find 3 bars and then a gap up. I don't know why. Oh, okay. It missed this one, of course. Why? Because it's beyond 1 o'clock. Because for some reason you didn't want to trade beyond 1 o'clock. And so it found that trade. It didn't. Why didn't it catch this one? It should have caught that one as well, and we got some of that. Now, of course, we can do some more things to where we can put trails on, to actually trail and catch more upside. We've even got special things, like this is my personal add-in that I wrote for customers. It is probably I'm just going to say it's a great tool for trap and profit, because what you're able to do is you're able to set up stages. So you can say stage 1, I want you to make sure that I make it to break even, okay? And then stage 2, I want you to begin to trail by percentage. And you can even go, okay, well, stage 3, if you've made it up to, X amount of dollar, then I want you to begin to ease out to the stop. This is a very powerful concept, and I'm showing you the help right here, but it's a powerful concept in trapping profit. You know how trails are so rigid, you need something to manage it the way that you would manage it, as you're gaining profit. So with most traders, the most important thing first is I want to make sure that I get to break even or a little bit above break even. And so you're putting probability in your on your side. And then the next thing I want to do is I want to capture a healthy profit. Okay? Now, of course, there's multiple ways to do that, but 2 of the most frequently used techniques would be, of course, to move the stop up. Another may be to sell half or a certain percentage into profit and let the rest run. And so you can do those sorts of things, but you need a tool to do it, and that's what this thing does. Being able to set up stages and the behavior per each one of those stages. So that's a very powerful thing we have there, and our customers get to take advantage of it. And like I said, I'm going to go ahead and actually show you how diverse one of my clients' strategies is. And there's nothing proprietary in here that I'm going to show you. So, like for instance, as you can tell, he's got 2 profit wrenches on the stop side and on the target side. Here stage he basically only uses 1 stage, okay, and then he has this on the bottom side, And then for his strategy, of course, I can't go into the details of it, but I can show you the complexity of it. That's not the one. Here's the one. Here's his target strategy. So this is his strategy, okay? And basically it uses time in several places. It uses what we call executed order directed signals, to where he's basing his next action based on where the entry order got executed at. Okay. And then he's got rules with a special behavior here that he wants it to ignore the children until one of these rules is correct. So whichever one of these rules is correct, then it will nullify and remove the other. And so and then he's got if the time is greater than a certain time of the day, then he wants this rule to take over. So yeah, these things can get pretty advanced. And as you can imagine, I'm not sure if you have programming capability, but if you do, then you can build your own, like for instance, like we've got a bunch of pre-built types. So these are all of the types: time, news, signal, technical, pattern, script, formula, percentage. I'm definitely going to show you these four right here. And of course, folder is just for organizing. We've got a lot of types, and then within the types, you have different solutions. Okay? And so signal is the one that most people understand and get easiest. Just like, for instance, a few years back, I used to heavily use Renko. Okay? And what Renko looks like this. So, like, let's zoom out on Facebook, and let's get rid of these signals. And you let me know if I'm going too fast, or if you need me to stop and review something. So I'm back in the workspace area. Now I'm just showing you this, how it works. It was requested by a customer. They wanted it, and so I thought it would be a good signal to add to for other customers to use. So, like, if you notice, most of these things that I've added, I didn't have to really do any configuration. They just are ready to run. Now you can go in and do, change the settings and do all sorts of things, but like, let's just set it up the way that it is. Now look at this. This is what Renko will generate in a day's time. Buy signals, and then when it sees sell, it's sell signals. When there's nothing occurring, meaning like there's flatness, there is no signal. And so you can look up Renko online. It's not anything that we created. We built the signal, but we didn't create the concept of Renko. Renko is a Japanese-based signal that was created years ago, and we just made it better. The previous Renko, it didn't incorporate time. Ours does. And so by incorporating time, you get to see flat spots. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to show you this, and then we're going to move on to what you were asking me about on the robot. So I'm going to actually plot the line, make it somewhat thick so you can see it. So if you can imagine, every time it moves up a notch, that is a buy signal. So it's like saying buy, 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 buy. Don't do anything. Sell. Buy. Now, of course, Renko is it's momentum based, and it is, to me, sometimes late. Because imagine if you sold as soon as you got the signal, because you're not going to get the signal until it hits that point right there. Well, now you have a very small slither of candle to make money. Same thing on this buy. So you have to be careful and combine Renko with other trend-based indicators to make sure that it's doing what you want it to do. But if I will tell you this, if you're in a very highly volatile market, this thing will cough up money, period. But in a quiet market, like you can see, this is pretty quiet. When you get these long, flat lines like this, that's very dangerous. This is what we like. This is what we don't like.
Right.
Okay, so I just wanted to show you that. Let's see. Let me put this guy back in line. This is just how I like to have my windows, and everyone's asking, do mine have to look like that? It's like, no, yours can be laid out any way you want. And okay, so let's take a look at the robot and answer your question. Now, you do feel comfortable a little bit more with the back testing, correct?
Yeah. Except I have some setup issues that I want to talk to you about offline.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Let's go back to the workspace. Now, this is the robot, and okay, there it is. I don't know why. That's a weird behavior. Every time I do a meeting, I never get this the first time I try to use it for some reason. Okay, so again, the robot, its core. Okay, let me explain this. This is basically your robot here. Okay, and the way that the robot is, or the way that it's structured is, you have a robot root, you have a robot group, and you have robots per each group. Okay? All right? And that's the way it's organized. Now, if you can see the way my particular robot is organized, I tend to, like, even though I have 3 here, I tend to have 2 per group, but that's because I trade a bullish and a bearish robot based on, the way the market is moving. So I like to have a bullish one going and then a bearish one, which is really a inverse ETF, which trades bearishly. So I'm not actually putting on a short. It's just an inverse of the market behavior. Now, for me, like, let's look closely at my particular setup. Okay, this is my personal setup. All right, so if we look closely, I'm going to show you something that I do, and the reason I do this is for organization. We have a feature called Strategy Link. Okay, now anything organized below this strategy link, it basically treats it as a referenceable strategy, meaning that from here down, this is stored on a disk. It's saved on your disk. So what this means is that same strategy here, I'm going to go and add something, and it says that it's auto save. So as soon as I add something here, I add anything to the strategy. I'm going to make it time. Okay. So as soon as I add something here and I hit OK, if I go over to my bullish setup and I hit configure strategy, look, that same thing is there, and I didn't have to do any more adding. So I could actually have multiple robots running off, or multiple legs of a robot, or for multiple robots running off of the same strategy. And because I have this link here, that keeps everything in sync, versus you having to go to every single leg that you want to change and change it. So this is, a powerful concept that I basically took from my years of experience in 3D animation. The 3D animation programs, they work very much in this way. So like if I had a 3D tank, I can do one of two things. I could copy that tank 100 times onto a landscape, or I can tell it to do an array by reference. And so when it references that original tank, if I change the nozzle on the tank, or if I change how many wheels are on the tank, then it does that for all of the tanks. So this is the exact same concept, but applied to trading strategies for, organization. So that's for when you start to get more advanced and you start to, you'll know it when you need it, because what you'll end up doing is you're like, God, I need to go over here and change that strategy. Now I got to come back and change this. And then you'll start to think, if this thing was centralized, I wouldn't have to do that. Well, that's how you do it. Okay? So here's the robot, and I'm going to walk through from top to bottom. All right, so when you first come into Ion Desk, of course, you essentially have three robot groups, and then there's normally, I think we have a default of 3 robots per each group. All right, and so you'll come in and you'll select that robot, and one of the things about the robot is the state. The state is always important. If you notice, I've got all of my robots docked except for these last two, so that none of them can actually run by accident. By me manually starting. Like if I were here at the root, I could say, okay, place all of these robots online. It'll go to place all of the robots online, but notice it only places these two in the queue. That's because all of these are docked. Okay? And so I can go back here and say take these guys offline, and so you see they're no longer in the queue and they're back offline. But they could be placed online. These cannot be placed online because they're docked. A docked robot can only be undocked. Okay? And so if you want to look at the status of a robot, you would come here if you cared about, the wins and losses per robot. So like let's say you have multiple robots running and you wanted to see how they performed in a day. Well, you could come here because like even though you may have your profit loss running, and this is per all accounts, and I'm actually logged into Trade King right now, and you see two other live accounts. Most of the time, of course you want to, like while you're at work for maybe about a month, you maybe want to practice trade. And so you can send all of these orders and do all of these things as if you were live while the market is running. So that's the great thing about, IonDesk is that you do have a practice layer. You do not have to put money at risk. Okay? And so you've got your manual tools here to place the robot online. So once I have my robot set the way I want, so I'm going to collapse these. The robot, of course, runs based on the order that you create. So this is the order here that I have for my robot. It essentially has it's a 3-leg setup. It doesn't have to be. You can manage your order just as well with 2 legs. So like for instance, let me give you an example. So this is that strategy that we had earlier. And so I'm going to add another strategy. I'm going to disable this one. And I'm going to add a strategy. I'm going to go to Renko here. All right. And so I could actually have Renko manage. I'm going to make sure this is set up correctly. And we're actually going to take this over and back test it in a minute. All right, so we're going to have Renko manage our buys, okay? And we're going to copy this because I'm going to take it to the target and add it and paste that strategy, but I want the sell signals from here, okay? And so everything else we leave as is. Okay, so we've got the entry basically emitting buy signals. You can leave it at buys or sells. The main thing is the attribute must be set to what you're targeting, okay? And so over here on the target, it manages the sells. Now, mind you, this target, it could find a sell point below where we entered, or we could find one above. Hopefully, we're finding a entry point above. Now, this is a very simple strategy where we use Renko to enter the market at market value, and we also use Renko to exit our trade, okay? And we're going to run this in a minute and see what it does. Okay, so back to the robot. Again, the robot has no brain. It only has settings, and it has a heart, which is your order. Your order contains your strategy. And I still didn't say that properly. Your order contains order legs. Your order leg contains your strategy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. You let me know if I lose you. All right.
Okay.
So, do you have any questions?
No, not.
Okay. Okay. So, just like in our bracketed orders form, it's just a simple order. Okay. Now, we can, like there are numerous settings per a robot. There are a lot of things we can do. You can even set permissions, and the only place you can get permissions is in the robot. We don't support permissions on the bracket order, but we do support them on the robot. Now, what does that mean? That means that you can actually get a notification on your phone via email and say, yes, I want you to place this order, or no, I do not want you to place this order. Let's take a look at what it looks like locally. So right now, this robot doesn't require any permissions, okay? I'm sorry, we're looking at this guy, I think. Okay. So this robot doesn't require any permissions, but what we're going to do is we're going to say, yes, I want you to require permissions by alert box. Now, we could say by email or by email and alert box. That means that, like, let's say you wanted it to email you and show an alert box. Well, the way that works is it'll do both, but, like, let's say if you were at your location, meaning at your home or at your office, and you walked out, but you still had your phone, and you will receive an email, and you can still control that robot from there. So, like, let's just look at what an alert box looks like. So basically, what I'm saying is, I want you to alert me when this robot is ready to trade. Okay, and what action should I take if I deny that robot from running? Right here, I'm saying take offline. We could say place it back online, or we could say dock it. We're going to say dock. Okay, I'm actually going to undock this robot. So because we're going to see what this does. And permission pending, timeout, we want to take it back offline. Okay? Or we can say, in other words, it'll time out after a certain amount of minutes. Well, what do you want the robot to do with that particular order? Do you want it to, or I should say, what do you want the robot to do? Come back online or go offline? All right, so here we're ready to go, and we've got other settings we can look at: time between trades, avoid the same interval. All this stuff is straightforward, like max number of trades, max number of failed trades, stop trading once you make a certain amount, stop trading the robot when you lose a certain amount. Very simple stuff to set up. Nothing intimidating here. All right, so we've got our setting, we've got our order here, which I'm about to change. I'm actually going to, well, actually it doesn't matter for this exercise. So I'm going to place it. I'm thinking that we're going to, and this is the way you just place it online. That means that I want the robot to begin to look for opportunities, okay? But that doesn't necessarily mean that because we have permission, that's the only thing it's going to do is look for opportunities when it's online. When it's offline, when it's red, it's not doing anything. Okay? So we place online, and what it does is it puts it down here in the queue. You may ask, well, nothing's happening. Well, the reason that nothing is happening is because of this strategy in here is probably not true, right? Because it's only going to place once it sees a buy signal. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove this, all right? We're going to remove it, and what we're going to do is reset. Now, when we reset, this order will come into the order list and become a position. But that's only after we give it permission to. Okay, so let's reset it. Okay, because we said that this particular trade needs our permission, here's the permission box. This is very similar to what you would get in your email. When you click place trade, it will place the trade based on your permission. This is a great way for you to trade at work. So you're still in control. Even though the robot is looking for the opportunity, the permission part of IonDesk will say, hey, are you sure you want to do this?
Right. But then if you're 30 seconds late, then you might have lost that opportunity, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's, it just depends on, if you want to do it. I just basically like to show people that feature so that they know what it does and why it's important.
Right.
Okay? And so the other part that's sitting here in the queue, well, that's the other half of the order, right? Because this represents a live position, right? Okay? Mm-hmm. Now, what is remaining are your two targets. I'm sorry, your two remaining legs, your target and your stop loss.
Right.
Okay? I'm gonna stop this.
Going back to that question of the alert. So I get the alert